As we have been saying that the 70th Republic Day celebrations will see many firsts, and in the rarest of rare tribute, the Indian National Army, India's first army ever, veterans are receiving their due honour at the Republic Day parade today. Founded by Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, the Indian National Army was the first to hoist the tricolour on free Indian soil in the Andamans. However, they were denied the freedom fighter tag by the Nehru government post-independence, and finally, 70 years later, the red carpet at Rajpath awaits them.
जहाज के ऊपर गोला मारना ये हमारे तोपखाने का काम था। एंटी एयरक्राफ्ट गन, फर्स्ट इंडियन हैवी एक रेजिमेंट, इसका नाम फर्स्ट रेजिमेंट रखा गया था।
आप नेताजी सुभाष को मिले थे?
हाँ,
तो
मिला था। बड़ा प्रेम प्यार था। मैं क्या बताऊँ, मैं रोने लग जाता हूँ जब उनकी याद आती है। क्यों, मुझे कुछ गाने का शौक था तो वह गाना वुना गा दिया करता था। वो बहुत प्यार से जंगल के अंदर कोठी बनाई थी, क्योंकि दुश्मन का ये खतरा रहता था कि भाई ये ना पता नेताजी कहाँ है।
देश की आज़ादी के लिए चलो महात्मा गांधी शौक ने वो खिलाफ शौक है मेरी भाषा में बताता नेताजी का। हाँ। तो वो मार दूँ चाहो सोई नहीं। हाँ। वो फिर ऑस्ट्रेलिया में चले हुए। हाँ। ऑस्ट्रेलिया का मैं हमको साथ था। बोले भाई तुम्हें उड़े रहो और तभी कोई आ तो नहीं आओगी हमारे साथ। ऑस्ट्रेलिया फिर वहाँ थाईलैंड बैंकॉक ये इतकर।
आप नेताजी के साथ बैंकॉक में थे?
हाँ, साथ था।
और बर्मा भी गए थे?
हाँ, गए थे।
अच्छा, नेताजी के बारे क्या याद आता है आपका? अच्छे आदमी थे बहुत ही।
नेताजी?
हाँ,
बहुत बढ़िया। देश के लिए अपना प्राण देने के लिए 400 सुभाष चंद्र बोस आज़ाद हिंद को बनाऊंगी, वही तो है। आज़ादी खेल में समझो बड़ी मुश्किल से मिलती है और इसकी बड़ी बड़ी जानें गई हैं।
National Affairs Editor of Times Now, Chandra Chaudhary, is joining us live on the broadcast. And even as we introduce our other guest, Chandra Bose, the grandnephew of Netaji, Maroof Raza, consulting editor of Times Now. And also we have with us this morning Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad, defence analyst. A very good morning to all of you, gentlemen. But first to you, Chandra, because you have been talking to all these veterans who will be part of that iconic parade today. And it also, when you talk to them, they also come across as absolutely humble for the fact that finally their efforts, their entire effort for the country has been recognized by some government, and after 7 decades.
Yes, absolutely. There are just 4 of them, and they are between 95 and 99 years old. And I spoke with one of them who's 99, and he's still a fairly fit man for his age. And he said that Netaji had told him that one day we will be at the Lal Killa and you will be singing and we will be sitting and talking about life. This is something he still remembers. Even the other guy, Hira Singh, Sepoy Hira Singh, he said that, you know, Netaji had told us very clearly that one day we will be in Delhi, and he was this great man. In fact, Parmanand said that if Netaji were alive after independence and if he were in power in India, India would be Sone ka Chidiya. So this is the kind of idealism they had and they still have. It's important that the country has decided that at least 4 of these surviving INA men would be part of the parade today. They are 95, 97, 98 and 99 years old respectively. And they are taking part in the parade, and they are looking forward to taking part in the parade. In fact, the logistics for them has been ensured. They will be strapped in their jeeps, and which will of course go down Rajpath. So it's a big moment for them, it's a big moment for the country, and it's a big moment for everybody. Here are people who fought all the way from Singapore. They were captured. They were ex-Indian Army soldiers. They were captured in Singapore. They joined the INA. They fought all the way from Thailand to Burma to right up to the Indian border to Kohima and Imphal. And this is something they have not forgotten. And this is something the Indian government, the Indian people should also remember after all these years.
Absolutely. And Mr. Chandra Bose, your first reactions, because this also comes in the backdrop of when the Prime Minister also renamed almost 3 islands on Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose. So this also is a great moment for the government as well, where the message that they want to send across is that the bravery, the valor of the veterans of the Indian National Army clearly will not be forgotten by our country.
Jai Hind to our countrymen on the 70th Republic Day. You see, it took 70 long years to recognize the contribution of the veterans of the Azad Hind Force. They fought the final battle for India's freedom. You see, they didn't want anything else. They didn't want a job. They didn't want money. They didn't want anything. They only wanted recognition and honor. Today is a historic day that after 70 long years, we are able, the country and the government of India, we are able to give them the recognition that they only wanted, the honor that they only wanted, because they sacrificed, they were willing to sacrifice their everything, their lives, for the freedom of our motherland. You see, India today is proud that the INA veterans who fought for India's freedom are at least given the simple recognition that they are able to join the Republic Day parade. It also took us 72 long years to recognize that they should be honored at the Red Fort. We have the government of India, the NDA government, under the leadership of Narendra Modi ji, recognized it, and the Prime Minister, the 14th Prime Minister of India, hoisted the tricolour at the Red Fort on the 75th anniversary of the provisional government of Azad Hind. That was the first government of free India, the first government of undivided India, and the first Prime Minister of undivided India was Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose. So we have waited long. We have waited for a very long period. But finally, Subhas Chandra Bose and his Azad Hind Force gets due recognition.
Absolutely. So it's been a long wait, but Maroof, another question that arises here is, irrespective of which government has been in power or which government is in power, what took India 70 long years to actually recognize our war veterans?
Well, it's not really the recognition of these war veterans. It goes back to a long way in history. You know, in the 1930s, Subhas Chandra Bose had visited Germany and then subsequently had developed friendships with people in Hitler's elite, as well as then later went to work with the Japanese. Now, he was rising very clearly as a serious political counter to Pandit Nehru. And historical evidence that has now been unearthed has been indicative of the fact that Nehru clearly saw him as a rival, and therefore there were efforts made to marginalize his contribution. He was clearly a nationalist, and his agenda was, as has been brought out by the distinguished speaker just now and even Srinjoy's interview, was clearly to give India the first force put together to fight for India's freedom. There is an ironical twist to it all. While we are respecting finally, after 75 years, the contributions of the soldiers in World War II, the bulk of the Indian Army that will be marching down the Rajpath today has regiments and units that take a lot of pride for their contribution in World War II, fighting under the British flag. You can't help it. That is the history of our armed forces. The point to note, whether our soldiers fought under the British flag or Netaji's flag, they all fought valiantly. They all fought with a great deal of dedication and courage. And that is the spirit of India that we should rejoice, not on the fact that whose side were they on. At that point of time in history, people had all sorts of options. Nobody knew for sure which option will work out in India's favor. But quite clearly, the reason, going back to your question, that they have not been given their due and people don't talk about it is because the Congress elite did not want Subhas Chandra ji then and his legacy thereafter to counter the contributions of Nehru and his followers to the independence of India, which is enormous. And Pandit ji's contribution cannot be belittled.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, there was this political rivalry within the elites, which led to the marginalization of the INA in Indian history.
And Lieutenant General Prasad, a very, very important point that was made by Maroof, that let's not forget that who they fought for, what they really did, but the fact that they were part of the Indian National Army, the first national army that India ever saw. And irrespective of the political differences, finally there's a government in power which has recognized their tribute to the country, which has recognized their efforts for the country. And finally, when Ash Shinjoy was also talking to these veterans, they come out and said that it was their dream to go to Red Fort and be recognized, and finally that day has arrived. And what better than these 90 plus veterans to be honored in such a grand manner today, isn't it?
Yes, of course. First of all, let me wish you, all the viewers in India, and particularly these soldiers from the INA, a very happy Republic Day. Secondly, I would also like to mention, besides what Maroof has mentioned and Sanjoy has mentioned, you remember the famous INA trials in the Red Fort, and finally this year the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, honoured Subhas Chandra Bose in Red Fort, and a museum is being created there. The Indian National Army also mentioned one very big slogan, Purna Swaraj. Purna Swaraj meant that they wanted to have independent India without the British here in one go and not in phases, and perhaps not a bifurcation of the country into two, India and Pakistan. It's a sad story that unfortunately Subhas Chandra Bose could not be the leader of India at that point in time for reasons that have been explained by Maroof. It was more political than anything. And the other thing that intrigues every single Indian today is the controversy about the manner in which Subhas Chandra Bose passed away in so-called air accident. Well, we do not know what's the truth because hundreds of inquiries and investigations have taken place, but nothing so conclusively one way or the other has come out. People still think that maybe he was alive till some point in time, maybe he was killed in that air crash, etc., etc. But the most important thing that strikes me is this, that while the government of India today has honoured Subhas Chandra Bose and the Indian National Army and the role it's played in the independence of India, let me tell you that as early as 1948-50, when I used to be at school, there was a house called Subhash House. There was a house called Ranjit House. So many people in India respected Subhash Chandra Bose as early as when I was in school in 1948. In my school, there was a house called Subhash House. Therefore, every child in India did respect Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose in some manner or the other. But the unfortunate part is this, that it has taken so long for an official recognition. There was a recognition at various levels in schools and in institutions, etc., etc. But for the government to now say that we will name 2 or 3 islands in Andaman on the name of Subhash Chandra Bose, we will have a proper activity in Red Fort. And the last thing I want to say is this, I'm not too sure, but I think the government of India must consider giving a Bharat Ratna to Subhash Chandra Bose. I don't think he's got it as yet. When so many other great people in India have got Bharat Ratna, why not Subhash Chandra Bose? And the last point I want to make is this, one of the common things between him and Jawaharlal Nehru's perspective about India was industrialization. And that is where Nehru agreed with him in some forms. And Subhash Chandra Bose always believed that industrialization in India is primed to make it a big country, and which is what the present government is trying to do. So on the whole, I think he's one of the greatest leaders and perhaps can be christened as the first Prime Minister of India, as Maroof mentioned. But yes, we are all very happy that finally a day has come in Indian history that he is being recognized, and I wish he'd recognized even better still.
Absolutely, and it's a day to rejoice that effort also that is being put in. For now, I'm requesting Maroof, Mr. Chandra Bose and Lieutenant General Prasad and also Shinjoy to stay with us. We're slipping into a very short break. We will return and debate more as India awaits the iconic Republic Day parade that is going to begin in just minutes from now. Stay tuned.